Hi everyone, Elliot Jacobson here for Advanced Advantage Play, and today I want to give you 4 examples of online casino cheating. Recently I had a comment in one of my videos where someone asked about this topic, and my general response is that most online casinos are fair, they are straight, they are not cheating, they don't want to take the chance, they're highly regulated, they're certified. But when you get into sort of dicey situations, depending on where the software was created, where the casino is hosted, whether you can find any reasonable licensing for the online casino, there are examples of cheating. So play in only the top, most well known casinos out there, and you will be fine. But at any rate, let me just get right to this. This is what we were talking about. 4 examples of online casino cheating. So, first of all, just so you know, I ran a casino company called Certified Fair Gambling. I ran it from 2007 to 2013. It was sold to me by Michael Shackelford, who had been auditing online casinos for several years and building up the business. And I sold it in 2013 to Charles Mousseau. So this company actually went a lot further than most other online casino companies. Let me see if I can actually give you some of those details. So this is what the current webpage looks like for Certified Fair Gambling. And let me just tell you sort of the big difference between this company and any other certifying company, at least when I ran this thing. And that is that we actually audit the casinos. This is not just a rubber stamp on return to player or RTP saying, yes, we've looked at the games, they are returning fair percentages. This is down in the dirt, statistical testing on a monthly basis of the software to make sure, well, for one thing, that there's no flaws in how the games operate, but also if the operator in the meantime tried to bring in some sort of software that changed things up in a way that wasn't very nice, then we would catch that. And over all the years that I ran this company, the casinos that I certified always 100% complied with every request I made, and I had full confidence in them at all times. And I was contacted by a number of casinos for certification that I went through the process and declined them. I would not certify them. I essentially either had strong doubts that they were offering an unfair product, or I had proven in one case that it was an unfair product. So certified fair gambling is still, I think Charles Mousseau runs this thing, still a seal of approval that I absolutely trust. So let's just go through these 4. And I'm going to spend a little extra time on the 4th of these, but I want to tell you along the way how you would catch each one of these if you were an auditor. So let's look at the first. Programming that made blackjack pay 95% instead of whatever it would normally be, 99.5% if you use basic strategy. And the way they did this was to short their virtual shoes by 16 tens and 4 aces. If you actually look at a shoe and you short it those many cards and you run the mathematics, you'll find almost exactly a 95% return. So how would you find this out in practice? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You simply get a bunch of observational data and record the number and frequency of each card coming out, how many tens, jacks, queens, and so on. And you can do this observationally for a few hundred hands and already start to notice a statistically significant difference from expectation. And essentially what you do, if you like the geek speak, is a chi-square test on the distribution of the various ranks. And you could also do it on the suits, but they might, for example, remove 4 each of each suit and an ace of each suit. So that doesn't work as well. But if you do a rank test, then you can certainly catch this. And yeah, this definitely happened. This is a 100% that this happened. So yeah, that's one way to cheat. You just jerry rig a virtual shoe. We got him. All right, number 2. Programming that made a 50-50 event into a 49-51 event. There was a casino many years ago that wanted to sort of offer an absolutely fair, 100% fair 50-50 game just as a sort of a recreational opportunity. And what happened is that people lost and lost and lost on this thing. And I actually played a bunch of games of this myself, and the convergence was to a 2% house edge. So I was actually able to write code to duplicate the performance of this program. And in doing my code, essentially, I chose a random number between 1 and 100. And if the number was 1 to 49, we had, for example, red, and it was 50 to 100, we had black. And so that was a 49-51 split. So it's not hard at all to do this, all right? And again, this was simply observational, and this was actually raised on a message board form. And in this case, I will say that this one involved a fairly large casino corporation at the time, and they came under intense scrutiny for having done this particular thing. Third one, and this one's kind of strange, but programs that preferentially shuffle when the house edge shifts to the player. So for example, if you're playing blackjack or baccarat where cards are being dealt from a shoe, then it is certainly absolutely 100% the case that the edge changes as you go down into the shoe. And if you are keeping track of side bets, then those edges might change even more, whether it's lucky ladies where you can possibly get a huge edge over the house, or the Dragon 7 bet, or whatever. So all you need to do is write into your code the trivial ability to figure out the current house edge. And you do that after each round is dealt. And if that edge ever switches to the player's side, you simply shuffle. Now, this happens all the time in Las Vegas and casinos around the world. It is sort of well known that casinos will preferentially shuffle on players on card counters. So for example, if you were to see a card counter raise his bet, the pit boss might tell the dealer to shuffle. That's called a preferential shuffle. That helps the house because that house edge is based on sometimes the game is in the house favor, a little bit less frequently it's in the player favor, but you average those two together to get the house edge. If you wipe out the part that's in the player's favor, so you only offer the game when after the cards are dealt, it favors the house, then you're going to greatly increase the return on that game for the casino. Now, this one is purely anecdotal. I have just heard about this happening. I have not actually investigated. This is more recent, but I would certainly think this happens. Now, is this cheating? That would be a question. It seems unethical at best to me, but casinos have been doing this for a generation. So going from unethical to actually putting it into the code to shuffle, if there's an edge, it might be cheating. It would not be hard at all to figure this out. If somebody made this claim, you would just simply record the hands that took place, the cards that were dealt, and you would simply see where the shuffle point was and be computing the edges all along the way. You could do this in a heartbeat if you actually wanted to get through with this. But the one that I really want to focus on a little bit longer is this last one, programming that guaranteed that the host casino would never have a losing month on any game. So, for example, if you wanted to open a new casino and you're not particularly well bankrolled, let's say you have $100,000 and you want to let people wager up $500 or $1,000 a hand, you could easily go on an unlucky streak. Casinos do this all the time and go broke. Right? So the person who creates the software might have the incentive to say, look, I will guarantee you will never lose money over any given month. Now you might lose some in the short term on various games, but we will make it all work out at the end. The problem is that towards the end of the month, things get kind of screwy, right? I mean, if you have to make up, then you have to force players to lose a certain number of hands or games in a row to make up the money that you need in order to get back into the black on every game. Well, a company contacted me for auditing, and I did not know that they did this, right? I did not know that this was what was going on with the company. And I want to share with you my auditing notes now. And this would be something that I don't think has ever been presented anywhere ever in any way. Now, the thing is that the casino doesn't know that I'm going to be able to catch them, right? And I asked for the code, I asked to speak to the programmer, I asked for access to the computer, I asked for output for the random number generator, I asked for gameplay logs from live play. And it was in the process of auditing that live play gameplay that I found out about this. So I'm going to take you through my notes from auditing this casino. So this is going to be a little bit hard for some of you to understand, but essentially I went through each game and I made up statistical tests that are reasonable tests of fairness. And again, I did not disclose what these would be in advance to the casino, so it was pure, they would have to know 1,000 different things I might try in order to sort of manipulate the log files to make them look fair when they weren't. Essentially, you cannot do that. If you cheat on a game, then a good auditor will be able to find some trace of that in the log files. You cannot create pure randomness when cheating has occurred. It will leave a fingerprint, and that's what happened here. So let's see what I did on Keno. I audited the distribution of each ball, the overall distribution of balls. Then I chose a random midpoint and said how many were above or below 40. I did a correlation test, and that is looking at the ordered pairs. How often did a 38 follow a 43? Those sorts of things. You look at each ordered pair and look for some sort of uniform distribution of those. And then I checked the return to player against what was advertised. And you see that their actual log file had a 85, whereas it should have been a 92. That's a little bit of a red flag. Months happen. People go lucky or not. Then I had this other Keno game that had a 95%. Again, I did the overall distribution. And I got on this one, an overall distribution of balls that was very high. So essentially the problem here is that things were too close to what they should have been. You expect a certain amount of randomness. So for example, if I ask you to flip a coin and it came up exactly 50 heads and 50 tails out of 100, and it did that over and over again, every time you said, well, here's 100 tosses, look, there's 50 heads. Here's 100 tosses, look, there's 50 heads. And that happened over and over and over again. That would look pretty weird, right? So that's what happened here. It does indicate that something to look out for, but it's not clear how that might be associated with cheating. All right, in blackjack, they said it was single deck, but I determined it was 6 deck. I looked at the distribution of the player's first card, the player's second card, what the dealer's up card was. And these are all very normal results that I got here. I looked at how many blackjacks the player got compared to how many was expected. And you see he's a little bit under, but again, this is nothing statistically significant. The dealer hit card. When the dealer hit, on average, were the cards that he turned over uniformly distributed. You see, you would expect that to be the case, right? You wouldn't expect the dealer to always get cards that make a good hand. That would not be uniform distribution. That would skew it. So you look at the distribution of the dealer's hit card. How often did the player get a 20? What was the second card for the dealer? Another way of cheating in blackjack is that you always put no matter which 2 cards the dealer is dealt, you always turn over the higher card. That forces players to hit, right? If you knew that if the dealer had a 10 and a 6 and they turn over the 6, you might stand. But if they're turning over that 10, you're going to hit when maybe standing would have been better for you. So very important to always audit the dealer's second card. I looked at the correlation between the first card and their second card. What about the dealer getting blackjacks? Slightly more than expected. And then player win, dealer win, and tie data. All right, then I did craps, and you can just I'll stop there and you can focus this. And what happened is as I was going through craps, I did find a fingerprint of an issue. And what I got here were several sort of small p-values, right? I got a dice correlation for single dice for dice value 4 gives a p-value which is really small. So essentially what you do is you look at when one dice is a 4, what is the other dice, right? So that is a way of really digging deep into the data. Hey, just focus. I'm going to look at what happens to that dice when this one's a 4. And what I found was that it did not come out fair at all, right? And the same thing happened when I focused on the second dice, right? And I asked back about the first. And so I asked for code that shows how dice values are being generated. That's what I requested, right? At this point in the audit, when I got to this point, I said, I want to see the code that shows you how the various dice values are come out. And you know my notice after that, I'm not happy with craps. Well, this is where everything blew up, right? And I had a conversation with the programmer and the CEO and everything else. And ultimately, I determined that these guys were producing cheating software, and I refused to certify them. Now, I didn't actually make this public because I had signed a non-disclosure. However, I knew several online casinos that were using this software, right? And so I knew that there were online casinos that were cheating players because they were advertising this particular software product. So that is sort of a challenging position, isn't it, for a an auditor to know that, hey, I've been given a product to certify that I verify is cheating. Hey, look at all those casinos using this cheating product. Can I shout that to the world? No, I can't. Fortunately, somebody who was less bound by legal restrictions than myself also knew about these flaws, and they were able to publicly bust this casino software company. Now, notice it was a software company that was to blame here. So a lot of times what will happen is that Joe wants to start up a casino, online casino, and he's looking at all the various products that he can choose from, right? And there's lots of choices out there that he could say, oh, I'll have this, I'll have that, I'll have a couple of different ones, whatever. Now, the person who's creating the software might say, the reason you should choose my software is I have this other feature that you will never have a losing month. And Joe says, oh, that's great. I really like that. I'll buy your software. Now, Joe may never actually decide to use that feature, right? He might just offer that software straight up. Just because Joe has bought the cheating software doesn't mean he has to press the button to make it cheat. So it is this sort of extra step. You need two participants. You need a product that allows the casino to cheat, and then you need a casino that is willing to pull the button to cheat with that product. So I can't actually say that any casino that had this software was cheating without auditing the log files or doing some observational audits of that casino. So that's the big problem with all of these things. So at any rate, this is, I do have a couple recommendations for you now, just sort of going forward from here. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Look, if you think an online casino is cheating you, there are two big problems you face here. One is called selection bias. And what selection bias means is that you look at only a small piece of the data. Oh, I was using this martingale. I know martingales win. I was playing a winning method, and then all of a sudden I lost, and I lost big. Well, you were focusing on the lost big part of the data for your accusations of cheating, because you have this other bias called confirmation bias. You already had it in your mind that the method you were using was a winning method, even though it wasn't, right? So you were creating a false hypothesis. And so when that data contradicted your false hypothesis, then you thought that must indicate cheating. And that's a really critical idea, because a lot of people who accuse online casinos of cheating are subject to this confirmation bias. They think they should win. They think they have a method. They think, my experience, I know this other person has used this and it's won. Or I'm just, this is definitely a winning method. It's been proved. I bought a book. A person on YouTube told me about it. So their expectation is one thing. So the contradiction of that is going to create this accusation of cheating where none should exist. If you play a losing system, you're going to lose. Now, you might lose and the casino's cheating, or you could just lose because you're a loser, right? But that is not how we can go around making accusations of cheating. Accusations of cheating require observational information, log files if possible, and a lot more, right? You need a lot of powerful evidence before you ever go public saying that a casino or a product is a cheating product. And just to really drive this point home here, if anybody in the comments, right, the comments down there says, oh, all online casinos cheat. If you play at an online casino, that's too bad because they're all cheaters, right? If you call all online casinos cheaters, I'm going to block you from this channel because that is an untrue and slanderous statement to say that about these people. It's not true. There are definitely well-regulated and fair online casinos. So don't say that. However, if you go to the next part of this and you're still convinced that an online casino you're playing at might be cheating, then here are 4 resources for you to pursue. Now, I'm out of this. I don't do this anymore. I stopped in 2013. Here's the reason I stopped. I sold my company. I got contacted by these people in Asia. And they said, we have this casino, online casino, and we would like you to certify our casino. All you have to do is give us your seal, sight unseen. We just want to put your seal on our casino websites. Would you take $100,000 for that? And I said, absolutely not. And they said, would you take $150,000 for that? And I said, absolutely not, right? And I just said, go away. I don't want anything to do with you. And it was at that point, right, that I just said, I want out of this. This is not worth it for me. I don't need to be the world's policeman for online casinos. I had a lot of other very interesting work going on in surveillance and with my blog AP Heat. And I was doing trainings all over the world, and I was having a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff. So I just said, okay, that's behind me now. I don't want to have to ever deal with another person who wants to bribe me to be unethical with my company. But you got to believe that happens, right? And there are unethical outfits out there that certify casinos. So these are 4 that I trust. These are 4 that I absolutely trust. CertifiedFairGambling.com under Charles Mousseau, The Pog, Casino Meister, and Wizard of Vegas. So if you honestly suspect cheating, then these would be people or organizations to approach in all of this. So, all right, everybody, that was my little rant for today. So I do have my usual one more thing here. Buy my book. It doesn't have anything about online casinos in it. But look, it's 500 pages of casino book for $18. You won't get more pages for cheaper than that with how to beat legitimately, legally, ethically, and every other positive way in the world to beat a casino, right? Totally legal. I've given you as much as I knew about it when I finished the book in 2015. Okay, some new stuff has happened since then, but the book was pretty up to date at the time. So, all right, everyone. This is Elliot Jacobson for Advanced Advantage Play. I'll see you later.